Hi everyone, I'm Alex and this is Beam Development Update for January 7th, 2020. In this video I'm going to talk about our plans for the coming year, update on the current status of Beam development, and also present an overview of Lelantus protocol, explain what it is and what we're going to do with it in Beam. So let's get started. Before we talk about our plans for 2020, let's first do a quick recap of the last year. As you remember, Beam launched on January 3rd, 2019, and since then we had over 90 releases of various Beam products. We are currently listed on over 30 exchanges and there are over 100 stores and services that accept Beam as payment. We have invested a lot of efforts in making all of our products beautiful, usable, and accessible for everyone. We have built desktop wallets and mobile wallets for all platforms, and they're very easy to use. We have extended the Mimblewimble protocol, and we have built very advanced and interesting features such as atomic swaps that were launched last year, and also LaserBeam, which is our implementation of Lightning Network-like direct payment channels, and we have also worked on hardware wallet support, which will be launched this year. We have built a great community of over 50,000 people worldwide across many different platforms. We have attracted great ambassadors, and we have established Beam Foundation, which is going to govern the protocol going forward. 2020 is going to be an epic year for Beam, and I will explain why. So first of all, let's list the top 4 big features that we're going to launch this year. Lelantus Mimblewimble is a protocol originally created by Zcoin, and it solves the Mimblewimble linkability issues. I will explain about this protocol later in this video in more depth. Also, it allows us to provide one-side payments, which is a major issue for Mimblewimble since it's basically an interactive protocol. We're going to introduce confidential assets, which is an ability to create new tokens on top of Beam and trade them confidentially. Of course, confidential assets will be integrated with our existing wallets, so they will be very simple to use, and we believe they will provide a gateway to building DeFi applications on top of Beam. We're also going to build bridges that will allow to move assets from Ethereum network and back and trade them confidentially on top of Beam. It's a very interesting feature, and I will explain more about it in the following videos. We're also going to build a web wallet, which is based on a trustless online service. And in addition to providing new ways to trade Beam, it will also increase our adoption and integration capabilities, which are very important for us, and Mimblewimble protocol was always very difficult to integrate into existing wallets because of the interactivity and the very different scheme of doing things in comparison to other cryptocurrencies. Of course, web wallets will also support bridges and will provide easy ways of moving assets from Ethereum to Beam and back. And of course, these are just the 4 top features, and there are much more. So if you are ever interested in knowing what Beam is currently doing, all you have to do is just go to our GitHub, to the Beam project, and open the projects tab. And here you can see all the currently active projects that we're working on. So towards the end of last year, we have launched the Double Doppler 4.1, which had some major improvements of the atomic swaps feature. And we're currently working on 4.2, which is basically our next step in Beam development. So if you go into the project, you can just see all the tasks and all the features that are currently being developed, and you can see our progress yourself if you would like, and you can also suggest new features and improvements that we will be glad to review and work on this year. So as you can see here, there are quite a lot of interesting things, such as wallet channels and also the wallet ID, which I'll explain more about in the following videos. And as you can see, you have quite a lot of stuff going on here, and you can follow these as things are being developed and see what is going on with Beam. So now let's dive in depth into the Lelantus protocol and talk about what it is, what it means, and what it can do for Beam. Lelantus is a new protocol for confidential transfer of value, originally developed by Ram Juvanian from Zcoin. It was adapted by Beam to work with the Mimblewimble and is basically an elegant extension on top of the existing Mimble design. It allows us to solve the linkability problem that I will explain in the next few minutes. It does not require trusted setup, and it can be effectively implemented with fast verification times and very compact proofs. In addition, it also allows us to create direct anonymous payments, which is basically an offline transactions that do not require interaction between two wallets as it is typical in the Mimble protocol. There are some scalability trade-offs that should be resolved because Lelantus does not lend itself to cut-through, but we believe that we will be able to minimize the negative effect and still keep the blockchain small. So what is linkability and how does it affect us? In most UTXO-based cryptocurrencies, one could reconstruct the transaction graph by either monitoring the transactions on the network or analyzing the blockchain if this information is recorded. Each transaction has a set of inputs which are converted to the set of outputs, and this is the way the value is transferred from the sender to the receiver. For example, if A has some UTXOs and UTXO stands for unspent transaction output, and A wants to send some value to B, it would use some of these UTXOs in this transaction, and B will now own the UTXO sent from A. If B wants in turn to send some value to C, it can also select some UTXOs from the UTXO set and send them to C. And even though these UTXOs now belong to C, they can theoretically still be traced back to A and B. It's not a simple process, and it's even more difficult in Mimble, where of course there are no addresses and there is no additional information other than the UTXO set itself in the blockchain. In addition to that, in BEAM, we implement the Dandelion protocol with decoy outputs, and what it means is that each UTXO that participates in the transaction, in each transaction, is first sent through a series of nodes before it is broadcast to all the nodes in the system, and each node detects the amount of UTXOs, and if there are not enough UTXOs, it would add decoy outputs to the transaction, which will make the detection of the original node and original UTXOs that participated in the transaction even more difficult. And only after this series of nodes is passed, one of the nodes will decide to broadcast the transaction, thus obfuscating the transaction graph even more. Despite all that, it is theoretically still possible to detect the origin of the transaction and link the UTXOs together, and this is why in Lelantus we add the shielded pool, which is used to unlink the UTXOs from their previous history. What it means in practice is that we have two new types of transactions, one that puts the UTXOs in the pool, and another that extracts a completely new and unlinked UTXOs from the pool, like you see in this example. In order to use this with the direct anonymous payments, what we do is that when B puts the UTXOs in the pool, they're already addressed to C, and then the C can take out a completely new and unlinked UTXO that has no previous history and own it. So this is the idea behind Lelantus, and of course it will require a major network update to enable this feature, so we will do this only after our next scheduled hard fork. However, once we do it, it will create new types of transactions and will allow unlinking any UTXO from its previous history, which is a major improvement for the Mimble confidentiality. So these were all the updates that we had for today. Thank you for watching and supporting BEAM, and see you next week.